In the garage of Dr. Frank Conrad, on November 2nd, 1920, the first scheduled pre-advertised radio program in the United States went on the air. Station KDKA was broadcasting returns of the presidential race on the evening of Election Day. From a humble beginning in a Pittsburgh garage to the sumptuous studios of the national radio networks in New York, Chicago, and Hollywood, these are the years we refer to as the golden age of radio.
Here's the Manhattan merry-go-round that brings you the bright side of life, that whirls you in music to all the big night spots of New York town, to hear the top songs of the week sung so clearly you can understand every word and sing in your time.
Al Kemp on the air for Griffin.
It's time to shine. Shine your shoes and
Tony Home Permanent presents...
This is Nora Drake.
The Golden Age of Radio is brought to you by Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, serving Central Connecticut since 1889. We'll join Dick Bertel, Ed Corcoran, and their special guest in just a moment. But first, be a payday saver at the Big B, Burritt Mutual Savings Bank. Go into any office of Burritt on the first day, last day, 15th day, or any day of the month, and you will meet a select group of savers, the payday savers, businessmen, tradesmen, professional people, career girls, and even mothers who save from the grocery money. Why do these people all stop in at the Big B? To save on a regular and very profitable basis. A payday saver is a regular saver, a saver who knows that only through a systematic plan of savings will he be able to pay for that college education, new home, or retirement trip around the world. At the Burritt, the payday saver receives 5% on a regular account with interest from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, 6% on 2-year certificates of deposit, 5 3/4% on 1-year certificates, and 5 1/4% on 90-day notice accounts. Join your friends at the sign of the Big B, the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, and become a payday saver. Deposits insured by FDIC. And now the host of the Golden Age of Radio, Dick Bertel.
Good evening, and once again it's my pleasure to welcome the man with 2,000 hours of old-time radio memories on tape, Mr. Ed Corcoran. Well, Ed, who's our guest tonight?
Well, tonight, Dick, I have a nice surprise for everybody. We have one of the greatest names in the history of radio, a man whose name is Jim Jordan, but who everybody remembers as Fibber McGee.
That's one of the greatest shows that was ever on radio, Fibber McGee and Molly. Well, Jim, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we want to find out about Fibber McGee and Molly and how this great show got its start. How many years were you on the air at that time slot?
From 1935 to 1963, or 60. How long would that be?
Oh, gosh, that's almost 30 years.
That's right.
That's a long time.
It's about 25 years.
25 years.
Mm-hmm.
The show, as Fibber McGee and Molly, as a half-hour radio show, went off the air in about 1954, didn't
53 or 54, I forget which, one of those years.
Yeah.
And then we did a 15-minute show across the board for 1 year, and then we did Monitor for about 3 years.
Yeah.
In fact, when Marion became ill in 1960, in February, this cancer was discovered. And we were the contract was made out for 3 more years of Monitor at that time, but we never finished signing it.
Well, that was one of the great losses to radio, certainly.
But you were with NBC for all those years, weren't you, Jim?
We were with NBC for over 30 years, yes.
That's quite an association. Well, Ed, before we continue our conversation with Jim, how about an excerpt?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question, Dick. As a matter of fact, I have really one of the very earliest shows in which Jim appeared. This goes back to the late 30s. Johnson's Wax was a sponsor. As a matter of fact, this particular show came from their archives, and only recently have they come to light. So this is what the show sounded like when it first went on the air back in the late 30s.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly.
makers of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Marion and Jim Jordan as Fibber McGee and Molly with Donald Novis, Bill Thompson, and Billy Mills Orchestra. A peculiar situation seems to be in progress at 79 Wistful Vista this evening. Molly is wearing an expression of mingled affection and exasperation, while her spouse seems a bit perplexed and perturbed. It's a situation that's always old and always new, but it's the first time it's happened to Fibber McGee and Molly.
Come on, McGee, think. What day is this?
Oh, now, let me see. It's Tuesday. The Chucks, we have that every week.
Come now. What happened to us 15 years ago?
15 years ago? Search me, I don't think I... Oh, yes. Uncle Dennis got pinched for bootlegging. Shucks, ain't I the dumb one? I should have remembered that. Remember how he tried to ditch the evidence by pouring it down the sewer and 5 manhole covers blew off downtown? I'm glad you remind me of that, Molly, because
I wasn't reminding you of that.
Huh?
This, dearie, is our 15th wedding anniversary.
What? It is? Our 15th? Only our... What do you know about that? Congratulations, Molly.
What are you congratulating me for?
Well, congratulations to us, then. 15 years. Don't seem that long, does it?
No.
Get your hat and let's go out and celebrate.
All right.
And I know just the place to go.
Where?
They're having a special this week at Kramer's Drugstore on caramel ice cream.
Oh, come, dearie. Control yourself. I wouldn't have reminded you if I'd have thought you were going all to pieces like this.
Remember the night we eloped, Molly?
I certainly do, McGee. Oh, it was beautiful.
Remember that funny little justice of the peace that married us?
Yes.
I still say it would have been a much prettier ceremony if he hadn't been chewing tobacco. Shucks, I was nervous enough as it was.
Come in.
Howdy, folks. Want to buy any garden, truck, eggplant, squash, and carrots?
No, thanks, Bud. We got everything we need.
Sorry to hear it. Need the money. Farm business is worse than it's been for 40 years.
Oh, that's too bad. Don't you ever make a profit?
Well, I might in normal times.
What do you mean, normal times?
Search me. Never seen any.
Let's see. What was we talking about, Molly?
Getting married.
Oh, yes. I think we ought to, Molly. No! We did, didn't we?
Are you sorry, dearie?
Sorry? I should say not. I'd do it all over again. Yes, sir. Say, that ain't a bad idea. That ought to be fun.
What on earth are you talking about?
Look, let's elope again tonight and get married all over again. What do you say?
Are you serious?
Why, I'm more serious now than I was the first time. It's like describing a baseball game off the ticker tape. It's just as exciting even when you know what the score is.
Well, all right, McGee, I'll elope. But now there's just one thing.
What's that, sweetheart?
About going down that ladder.
Huh?
Under the circumstances, don't you think it'd be better if I carried you down this time?
No, that wouldn't work. I'm too ticklish. I'll tell you what you do, Molly. It'll be dark before long. You pack your bag, and I'll go someplace and borrow a ladder.
Oh. Well, just a minute, dearie, before you go.
Huh? What's the matter?
Well, now that we're engaged, aren't you going to kiss me?
Oh. Okay. Goodbye. Now, let's see. I wonder if the fire department would lend me a ladder. Maybe if I...
Oh, how do you do, Miss McGee?
Oh, hi, Uppy.
Is Mrs. McGee at home?
Yes, she is, Uppy. She's in the house there preparing her torso. Come on in. Hey, Molly. Here's Uppy.
Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Uppington? So nice to see you.
Oh, and it's so nice to see you, my dear. Tell me, are you engaged this evening?
Well, heavenly days. How did you know, Mrs. Uppington?
We ain't only engaged, Uppy. We're going to get married.
Oh, how very... What? Married?
Why, yes, we thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. But, my dear, after all this time, I mean, well, now, really.
Oh, you don't catch on to it, Uppy. We're getting married again.
You mean to each other?
Well, who did you think? This is our 15th anniversary, Mrs. Uppington, and we're going to celebrate by eloping just like we did before.
Yeah, incidentally, Uppy, you got a ladder we could borrow?
A ladder? Oh, of course, I have a lovely ladder. Oh, I'm sure I still have the ladder I used when I dedicated the new chandelier at the Ladies' Exchange. Why, it's all covered with gold leaf and has a handrail.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
That sounds a little dilly, but we ain't got time to dally. Can I come over and get it, Uppy?
Oh, that won't be necessary, Mr. McGee. Snodgrass, my butler, will bring it over. Oh, my. Think of you two being married 15 years and eloping. Oh, dear. Oh, tell me, have you arranged for anyone to pursue you?
Oh, no. No one is chasing us. This is just for our own amusement.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm sure the affair will never be criticized, even though you are being unchaste. Oh, my aunt, I'm a silly girl. Well, goodbye.
The Golden Age of Radio featuring Jim Jordan, Fibber McGee will continue after this word. Burritt Mutual Savings Bank has good news about mortgage loans. They're giving them. Conventional loans, GI loans, FHA loans, 75% loans, 50% loans, 80% loans at the Big B. They want to make loans, and they do just about anything they can to see that you get the home of your dreams. Before you go out and look for that home, let them suggest that you stop in at any one of the Big B's 4 convenient offices and discuss your financial needs with a mortgage loan officer. He'll counsel you on how much of a monthly payment you can carry, the closing costs, and the procedure of selecting and financing your new home. Don't wait any longer. Interest rates are at their lowest level in 3 years, and with the cost of construction going up and up, now is the time to make that move to your new home with the help of a Burritt Mutual Savings Bank mortgage loan. Call or visit any of Burritt's 4 convenient offices tomorrow.
Our guest tonight is Jim Jordan, the creator and the voice for those many, many years of Fibber McGee and Molly fame. And the thing that I remember most about the show was the closet. Do you remember?
Oh, yes. Every week they'd do it. They'd always seem to add something a little different to it and so forth. It was really one of the highlights of the show. How did you actually do that, Fibber? I'm really curious.
On the radio, the way we did it, there was no door, there was nothing. The man piled this stuff up on a stepladder way up to the ceiling, and then on a cue, he'd knock it over. And but that was... It couldn't have been pictured the way we actually did it.
I think that was one of the great trademarks of the Fibber McGee and Molly show, the hall closet.
The strange thing about it was that, especially in the last 5, 7, 8 years that we did it, we would do that as many as 3 times a year. That's all. And everybody that ever says anything about Fibber McGee and Molly now, they always think of the closet. And they think that Fibber McGee and Molly was a closet, you know. And it's the truth that we wouldn't do it over 2 or 3 times in a year.
You felt that the gag was wearing thin.
We didn't want it to wear thin. We wanted to keep it alive as long as we possibly could. And we talked about it and did keep it alive. Yeah. But we wouldn't actually do it. Boy, we'd have a big meeting about whether to do it or not.
This one? That's the one. Just yank it off it, bud. Get me out of there! And when the cops did get here, Molly, it took them 10 minutes to find the guy under that pile of stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Boy, that closet is dynamite.
Yes. And someday I'm going to dynamite that closet.
Good night.
Good night, all.
And what would Fibber say after the last tinkle, after the last crash?
Got to straighten out that closet one of these days.
And the laughs across the nation, I'm sure, can still be heard if you listen carefully enough.
Well, Jim, how did Fibber McGee and Molly originate?
It's really a pretty long story. We started in radio. I started in vaudeville before Marion and I were married. in 1917. I was 1 year in vaudeville and went in the Army, and then we were married right as I went in the Army, so we tried to stay home in Peoria and stay out of show business for a while. My wife was a piano teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't stay out very long till we got going back in. We had a little concert company then for 3 or 4 years and did very well until our second child was born. Then we had to get off the road. Couldn't do the traveling that we had to do then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we went into vaudeville, the two of us. The only time we were in vaudeville was just a couple of years, and we played more picture houses than vaudeville, and we were a piano singing act and never spoke a word. We did comedy tunes, sang a few little comedy songs.
And you were known as the Jordans?
Yeah, Marion and Jim Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way we went on the radio in Chicago in 1926.
This was a local Chicago outlet.
Yes, local. No dough.
Mm-hmm.
No, one of those. And we'd work at it a while, and then we'd have to go back in vaudeville. But by this time, the fact that you were on radio upped your value a little bit in the theaters in those days, even in vaudeville. We were radio stars. We'd been on radio about 3 months, and we were stars.
Mm-hmm.
And we were coming to New York. We had a deal to do the Low Time with Tim and Irene Ryan had cooked this up. We had met them. And on the way through Chicago, we ran into a fellow who was a musical director over at a station called WENR. This was in 1927.
Mm-hmm.
And we went over and interviewed them, and we went to work on that station, and we never were off one day from that time until Marion became ill.
And who originated the idea of Fibber McGee and Molly?
Well, that evolved through a whole series of events. We were doing a show on WENR. We worked on farm programs, and we did a couple of rural people. Then we did another show called The Smith Family, in which other people were involved, and Marion did the Irish voice on that, which later became Molly. We ran into a man on the farm program called Rusk, E.W. Rusk, and he had known about a little store down in Columbia, Missouri, where an old guy that ran this store didn't have anything, and he had everything, but he had the knack of telling people that he was, if he didn't have it, he'd say, well, I'm smack out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have it in the morning. And so this man told us this story, and we thought this would be a good idea, so we put it together, and we made a deal with Don Quinn to write it. And in those days, if you didn't write your own material, you were no good. The idea that you hired a writer, you kept that quiet. You didn't let anybody.
I suppose that's
you didn't
right,
let anybody
sure.
know that, or you'd be out of work quick. So he started writing Smack Out, and then NBC bought this radio station, and we didn't want to go to NBC because we were playing theaters and doing pretty well. And the reason we did well was because our appearances were announced on the radio station,
Mm-hmm,
and NBC
sure.
wouldn't allow that. So we went over across the river to a Columbia station, WMAQ in Chicago, and started this show actually over there. And we were only there 6 months when that station was sold to NBC. So then we had to go to NBC. That was 1931 that happened.
This was still Smack Out, though.
That was still Smack Out.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that show for 4 years before anything happened.
That would bring us up to about, what, 1934?
1934.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard about the Johnson Company through an outside source. They were looking for something, and they had listened to 20 radio shows. They wanted to hear us because Mrs. Lewis, who was a Johnson and married to Jack Lewis, who was the head of the advertising agency,
Mm-hmm.
Needham, Lewis and Broadway, she would listen to Smack Out for about 6 months. And she knew all about us, and she got her husband to listen, and he got interested, and he wanted to buy us, but they didn't want NBC to know that they wanted to buy us, you see.
Yeah.
Otherwise, whoop, goes the...
That's right, up goes the
deal.
price.
Yeah. So they heard all these shows, and we actually went over to another studio over in the other end of town and sneaked an audition for the Johnson Company with the old guy in the store, and we put the Molly voice, who was Marion's voice, Irish voice that she had been doing in the in the Smith family. Put them all together and did this audition, and Don wrote it, and they bought it.
You're listening to The Golden Age of Radio. When you look into the future for your children, what scares you the most? The cost of a college education, right? Well, there is absolutely nothing you can do about the rising cost of education, but you can provide the best education possible for your children by saving for it. There are several plans open to you at the Big B, the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank. The first, a regular savings account paying you 5% from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, with interest compounded monthly. The second, a 6% certificate of deposit, with interest guaranteed for 2 years. The third, a 5 3/4% certificate, with interest guaranteed for 1 year. And fourth, a 5 1/4% 90-day notice account. If you save a portion of your pay each payday, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the handsome sum you have accumulated over the years. Don't wait. Stop in at any of Burritt Mutual Savings Bank's 4 convenient offices and add to your existing account or open your new account tomorrow. Don't wait for things to happen. Make them happen at Burritt Mutual Savings Bank.
You are listening to the Golden Age of Radio. This is WTIC in Hartford. Our guest tonight is Jim Jordan, Fibber McGee of Fibber McGee and Molly. This is Dick Bertel, and with me, of course, is Ed Corcoran with his wonderful collection of old-time radio memories. Ed, you had a question about writer Don Quinn and his association with the show.
Did Don originate the name of Fibber McGee?
Yes, and the way that came about, this old liar, the Johnson Company said something one day. It seems to me that we should have a name, that we should name this something besides Marion and Jim Jordan, maybe a name that would be more significant of a liar would have some value. And this was in a meeting one day, and the next morning Don came in and he threw this paper down on the table, and there it said it right on there. Fibber McGee said that.
Well, that's a great story. That is a tremendous story. And, of course, the Fibber McGee and Molly program became a radio institution for, those many years.
Yes.
Tuesday night was the great listening night for radio. You started out with, let's see, who preceded you? I think Frank Crummett and Julia Sanderson for a while, didn't they, from 9 to 9:30?
I believe they did for a while.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Amos and Andy came in there.
Yes, Amos and Andy came in there, and Red Skelton came in there, and what is that? Snooks. Baby Snooks preceded us for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Bob Hope followed
at
10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So that was that strong Tuesday night lineup that one heard about. And there were so many people associated with you. Your announcer, Harlow Wilcox, who I believe is no longer living.
Right.
A very fine announcer. Mm-hmm. And some of the characters who were associated with Fibber McGee and Molly through the years, and I was trying to think of them this morning at home as I was shaving, looking in the mirror, and trying to come up with some of these characters. Remember, and I'm sure you do, the fellow who always looked through his pockets and came up with a ticket for a short beer.
Bill Thompson.
So you can see, Lieutenant, we're really pretty respectable people there.
There, quiet there. Who's this, Callahan? He says his name is Horatio K. Boomer, Lieutenant. Suspected of picking pockets in Joe's Tavern. Joe's Tavern, huh? That place has a bad name. What were you doing there?
Well, believe it or not, officer, I was waiting for a sidecar.
Any evidence, Callahan? No evidence, Lieutenant.
Certainly not. What do you take me for, an amateur?
Let him go, Callahan, but keep an eye on him after this.
Now, just a minute, Lieutenant. Mr. Boomer knows who we are.
Yeah, you vouch for us, won't you, Boomer?
Good evening, my dear. Hello there, Bumblebrain. What's the matter?
Well, the lieutenant thinks we're burglars.
And he's holding us for a $1,000 bond.
$1,000, eh?
Yeah.
I'll pay the ransom, Lieutenant.
Gee, thanks, Boomer.
Think nothing of it. What's $1,000 to me? For that matter, what's my right eye to me?
If you're going to go bail for this man, hurry up.
Certainly. I have it right here somewhere. $1,000. Where'd I put that $1,000? Here's a postcard from an old friend in Leavenworth. Says, quote, "Doing time fine. Wish you were here," unquote. Pair of hollow heels for smuggling diamonds. Never used them. I get cold feet when I walk on ice.
on, Boomer. Hurry up. It's $1,000.
Don't hector me, Pop. Now, where I put that grand? Here's a package of playing cards in case I get in a friendly game of poker. These cards are friendly even when they turn their backs. Mud pack for my dear old mother puts an entirely different face on the mater. Yes, indeed. Bottle of hair dye for a girlfriend with a convertible top. And a check for a short beer. Well, well, imagine that. Here it is, $1 grand.
$1 grand and a glorious feeling.
Well, thanks, Boomer, old pal. Now, can we go now, Lieutenant?
Yes, but report back here tomorrow.
Okay, Bud. Boomer, I certainly appreciate it. Hey, Boomer, wait a minute.
We want to thank you.
I'll thank you not to delay me.
Yeah, but about that $1,000.
Forget it, Fidget Midget. I'm going right home and print another batch.
Bill Thompson did that guy. I can't think of his name.
Neither
and he did Wallace Wimple
Wallace
and the
Wimple.
Old Timer and Nick DePoplis and
Horatio K. Boomer.
And a check for a short beer.
Yeah, that's right. He did all this.
Wallace Wimple was married to Sweetie Puss, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
that's right.
My big old wife, Sweetie Puss.
Hello there, Mr. Wimple.
Oh, hi, Wimp.
Hello, folks.
Taking a little stroll, Mr. Wimple?
Yes, in a way, Mrs. McGee.
Oh.
But mostly I'm sort of a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetie Face, that's my big old wife, you know.
Yes, we know.
She's giving a bridge party for a lot of matrons.
What do you mean, matrons? Older women?
No, I mean matrons from the county jail. Sweetie Face used to be a guard in the women's section down there, you know.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yes. But when she wanted me to put on an apron and serve the tea, I just stamped my foot and refused.
Well, good boy, Wimp. That's the old spirit. What was her reaction to that?
Well, it was rather surprising, Mr. McGee. She got down on her knees and pleaded with me.
But you just stood there with courage and determination.
Well, no. You see, she was kneeling on my neck.
Wimp, I predicted one of these days you got to have a showdown with that woman. Show her who wears let her know who's boss around there.
She already knows that, Mr. McGee. She is.
You mean you never really put up a strong protest, Mr. Wimple?
Well, yes, I did once. I really told her off.
You did?
I stared right at her and said, "Look here, Sweetie Face," I said. I didn't even raise my voice. "Look here, you old fright wig," I said. "From now on, I'm running this house. From now on, you do what I say. You lay a hand on me once more," I said, "and I'll pulverize you."
Wow. And what did she say?
She didn't say a word.
No?
But she twitched a little, and I was so afraid she'd wake up that I ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and shinnied out the window. Well, I've got to be going now, folks. Goodbye.
So long.
The Golden Age of Radio, featuring Jim Jordan, Fibber McGee, will continue after this word. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? For the customers of the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, it's their Burritt Bell, of course. A Burritt Bell may be a smiling, efficient teller, ready to serve your every need. A friendly new account clerk who will open a regular 5% savings account or sell you a high-yielding 6% certificate of deposit and thereby start a long and financially rewarding relationship with the Burritt. Or it may be the friendly voice of the Burritt, greeting you as you call to ask about Burritt Mutual Savings Bank's many services. The Burritt Bells at the bank's 4 convenient offices are waiting with a smile to serve efficiently your every savings banking need, whether it be a savings account, mortgage loan, traveler's checks, money orders, or whatever service they may render. So remember, when you think of a savings bank, think of the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, home of the Burritt Bells. Now back to Dick Bertel.
Jim Jordan is our guest, Fibber McGee of Fibber McGee and Molly. And Jim, let's continue with that wonderful cast of characters who used to come to your door every Tuesday night. There was a mayor.
Mayor Latrivia. That's Gail Gordon.
Right.
It's a natural. You see? Uh-oh.
Maybe that's a messenger boy. It's about time I was hearing from them movie stars. Come in.
Oh, it's His Honor, McGee. Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, Molly. Good day, McGee. Oh, sorry to interrupt your letter writing.
I'm not writing letters, Latriv. I'm writing a movie.
First movie you ever wrote, McGee?
First one this week. I'm writing the story of the typewriter, Latriv.
His next story will be called Fog. It'll be a condensed version.
You ever do any creative writing, Latriv?
A little, yes. I've always believed the pen was mightier than the sword.
Except maybe at a military wedding. Imagine the bride and groom having to crawl along under crossed pens dripping ink on them.
You mean when you were in the service, Latriv, you could fight better with a pen than you could with a sword?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, we had pens that were full of tear gas. Much more effective than swords.
Well, now what shall we talk about?
Want me to read you my movie story, Latriv? As far as I've got? Only take an hour and a half or so. You see, the first shot is a cottage in England. We truck the camera up to a pub.
Ah, England. I love England. I'm an old Oxford man, you know.
Oh, not McGee. He prefers high shoes. He says Oxfords don't support the ankle properly.
Besides, those Oxfords of yours don't look so old. How many times have you had them half soled?
3 times. I'm really an old Oxford man. New Oxfords are so hard on the feet when you have to do as much walking as I do.
It's no use, McGee. Let's give it up.
Yeah. Look, Latriv, if you don't want to cooperate, why don't you run along and let me get to work?
I'm sure I don't know what you mean, McGee, but if I'm interfering with your work, I shall be only too happy to remove myself. Good day.
And he's very active.
He's with Lucy. Yeah.
He's working with Lucy now, and he was with Our Miss Brooks, I guess, when that was on television. And may I have a trivia? Doc Gamble?
Doc Gamble is Arthur Q. Bryan.
Well, Dick, maybe we ought to, play a little something of Mr. Bryan here. This is a character he did called Doc Gamble, and he did it not only on Fifth McGee, but he also played the same character on the Gildersleeve show.
Hello, Dr. Gamble.
Hello, my dear.
Hi, Doc.
And what are you doing in the magic shop, Fumble Thumb? If you're trying to find out how to make yourself disappear, please do so and have them send me the bill.
Look, you stuffy old stand-in for a tired stork. Just because I have the energy and initiative to learn something new to entertain with at the Elks Club Smoker next week, whereas you'll probably get up there and make an annual fool of yourself pulling the wings off a poor butterfly with your wheezy old concertina that you got for $3 in a hawk shop in 1911. Why don't you? What was I starting out to say?
Well, no one will ever know, sweetheart, and let's keep it that way. May I ask what you're doing in here, Doctor? Are you a magician?
Is he a magician? You ever see his wizard thermometer? He sticks it under your tongue and pulls $300 out of your pocket.
Look, Wobblejaw, I'm an even-tempered man, and I dislike to brawl in public. But a few more of your snide comments, and I shall be forced to throw a few knuckles into your unpaid-for teeth.
Who's going to throw whose knuckles into whose what? Why, you creaky old has-been that never was, you make one move toward me, and I'll stomp your mushy old frame right into the woodwork.
Oh, yes? Don't forget I've seen your muscles, such as they are. And I happen to know you couldn't go 2 rounds with Margaret O'Brien. You are softer than the obligato to Mother McCree. And you couldn't punch your way out of a snowbank.
Oh, no? Well, for your information, I got out of a snowbank.
Oh, now, boys. My goodness, after all.
Mr. McGee, I have a few tricks that I think will do. All the instructions and some books. Oh, hello, Doctor.
Hello, Chet.
Oh, do you know Doc Gamble, Chet? Mm-hmm. That's great. Doc's one of my best and oldest friends. How about it, Docie, old pal?
Yes, ours is a very strong friendship, Chet.
You betcha.
On a warm day, you can smell it for 50 miles. Say, Chet, did you get me a Berg deck?
Yeah, right here, Doctor. I'll put it on the account.
Thanks very much. Good day, my dear. So long, McGee. Dear old boy.
So long, lovely old man. Ah, good old Doc. I'd cut my right arm off for him, and he knows it.
Yeah.
Only he'd want to do it himself and charge me $150 for it. Well, thanks, Chet. This is wonderful. Come on, Molly.
It was great hearing that voice again, and we'll get back to our guest tonight on the golden age of radio, Jim Jordan, right after this.
When looking for that new car, go to Burritt Mutual Savings Bank. No, the Big B does not sell new or used cars, but it does help people buy them. Chances are that you didn't know that Burritt Mutual Savings Bank will make you a car loan at low rates. Before buying that new car, call any of their 4 convenient offices for information. But wait, that's not all. You will need another car when this one wears out, and the Big B has a plan for that, too. When you finish with your new car loan, keep on making the payments into a Burritt Mutual Savings account where you will earn big dividends with no effort at all. Rates range from 5 to 6%, depending on the plan you choose. But whatever the plan, the next car you buy will be paid for by your Burritt Mutual Passbook. So don't wait. Drop in at any office of the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank for your new car loan or to make that monthly payment on your old car loan. Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, New Britain, West Hartford, Rocky Hill, Wethersfield.
Our guest tonight is Jim Jordan of Fibber McGee and Molly fame.
Can you remember any of the other characters that appeared on the show, Dick?
There was another young man who developed a character named Beulah.
Yeah, that was Marlon Hurt.
Right.
He was with a singing trio in Chicago.
And Marlon Hurt went on to his own CBS half-hour show and then died shortly thereafter of a heart attack, I believe.
That's right.
You never did any voices other than Fibber, did you, Jim?
No, not on the Fibber McGee and Molly show.
But Molly
I did too in the beginning.
Did you?
Yes. Yeah. Of course, in the beginning, on the Smack Out show, we did everything.
Mm-hmm.
We ran our own clock and did our own producing and did all the voices. We had nobody and no music. Marion played the piano. We did everything.
Mm-hmm.
She was a union musician. You see, she had to be, and we were getting $200 a week.
That was pretty good for those days.
Yeah, but she got 140 of it. I got 60 and paid Don Quinn 40.
Well, you had $20 for spending money.
I had $20 left for 4 years.
Couldn't get into any kind of trouble that way. Did Don Quinn write the show right
from
through?
The beginning.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning. And he later on had help.
Yeah. Now, Molly did a character, a little girl, didn't she?
A little girl, yes.
Oh, promise me that someday you and me will take our love.
Hi, mister.
Now, don't bother me, little girl. I'm busy.
What doing?
Well, I'm going to elope.
What's a lope?
Well, that means when you run away with somebody you like.
Oh, you mean like the dish ran away with the spoon and the little boy left to see such sport and the cow jumped over the moon, don't you?
Yeah, only tonight the moon won't have any beef coming.
Oh.
Now run along, little girl. Anyway, you shouldn't be out this late.
Well, gee, I'm waiting for Easter.
You're waiting for Easter?
Sure.
Listen, sis, you better run on home now. Easter won't be here for 6 or 7 months. Hey, wait a minute now. Take it easy. What's the matter? Does Easter mean that much to you?
Sure he does, I bet you. He's the cutest bunny rabbit I ever owned.
Oh, I got it now.
Gee, have you? Give him to me, mister.
No.
Here, Easter.
No, I didn't mean I had the rabbit, sis. I meant I got the idea. Listen, sis, I'm sorry I ain't got time to help you look for your rabbit, but if you'll describe him to me, I'll keep an eye out for him.
Oh, well, he's got big ears, and he's white, and he's got pink eyes, and he wiggles his nose, and...
Well, that's a pretty general description so far. Ain't he got any distinctive characteristics? I says, ain't he got any peculiarities? What's he got that other rabbits ain't got?
6 little baby rabbits.
I'm afraid with rabbits, sis, that ain't a very distinctive characteristic. Well, what I mean is, ain't he bow-legged? Ain't he got freckles? Don't he stutter or something?
No.
How about his tail?
I guess we mustn't talk about that, I bet you.
Why not? Why mustn't we talk about his tail?
My
Mama said so.
Oh, that seems peculiar. Just what did she say?
Well, she said Easter was awful pretty, but he didn't have any tail to speak of. Well, thanks anyway.
I'll tell you when I first became aware of Fibber McGee and Molly, because 9:30 was really past my bedtime at the time the show went on, but I used to listen from the bedroom to the big radio in the living room. And this was the time when Molly was out ill. I guess she had been out ill for a while. Because
18 months.
Was she out that long?
Mm-hmm.
That was
18 months.
about 38, 39?
37.
37. Hey, I go back farther than I thought. Or I stayed up longer than I thought, one or the other. 37. And I remember that when she joined the show, she was a newcomer as far as I was concerned.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
And, of course, then the association began. Now, you did go out to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And while you were, this was probably the early 40s, you did a movie, at least one movie that I know of.
We made 5.
You made 5.
Till they found out what was the matter. In fact, we could have gone on making movies, but it became kind of futile along about that time. It was just a lot of work, and we were back to the no-dough days again, making movies, because with the tax business, it made it all up.
Well, Jim, what was the work week like as far as the show was concerned? It began Wednesday morning, right after the last show, didn't it?
No. It began Friday. Mm-hmm. Friday. We took Wednesday and Thursday off. That was the days that we tried to keep ourselves free.
Mm-hmm.
We started Friday and Saturday.
What would you do? Would you be working with Don Quinn, going over his material?
Well, we'd meet on Friday, and then we would meet again Saturday, and we would meet Sunday. That was just with us and the writers, you see. Mm-hmm. And then on Monday, the cast would come in, and we'd have a reading, and then they'd go back to work, and we'd take it on Tuesday morning again. The structure, the building of the show and everything, of course, was all done beforehand.
Sure. How many rehearsals would you have prior to going on the air?
2.
Was one a dress rehearsal?
Yes, we'd have a dress on Tuesday about noontime.
Mm-hmm. Would you have an audience for that?
No.
No. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessary to gauge where the laughs were going to fall and so on.
That's right. If they didn't fall, well, it was too bad. They didn't always, believe me.
And for most of the time then, from 39 on, the show originated from the Hollywood studios.
Always.
Well, as long as we're talking about the show with Jim, suppose we have another excerpt from the program.
Well, here we are, Molly. The hottest night spot in town.
Oh, how exciting. Gil Hooley's Grand Terrace Cafe and Pool Room.
I wonder if it's crowded. Hey, doorman, is there a big crowd inside?
Not so many. It's pretty quiet. Oh, hello there, daughter. Hello, Johnny. Hey, they tell me you're writing a gossip column now.
Yeah.
I got an exclusive story for you. It's a snoop.
You mean a scoop?
Hey!
Scoop. You know what a scoop is, old-timer. A scoop is when you get there first to give some second-rater the third degree for the fourth estate.
That's pretty good, Johnny. But that ain't the way I heard it. The way I heard it, one feller says t'other feller, says, I see where this Tony Galetto performed a little dentistry the other night. Is that so, says t'other feller. How do you mean? Well, says the first feller, he certainly gave Novocaine. Say, I'll make a great story for you, Johnny. You might caption it, Local Anesthetic Makes Good. Well, go right in, kids. The head waiter will give you a good table.
Okay. Oh, here's a good table right here, Molly. Hey, waiter, give me the steak dinner. You just want a salad, don't you, Molly?
Yes. A mixed green salad with just a tiny bit of garlic, waiter.
Lady, there ain't no such thing as a tiny bits of garlic. Garlic is a garlic. And confidentially... But that's
Listen, Bud, I'm the gossip columnist on the Gazette. I wish you'd point out any celebrities that are here tonight.
You know, debutantes or actors or gangsters or...
Sure. Did you see that girl at the third table? That's Brenda Axel Biddle, the debutante. She just come out.
Oh. She ought to go back in and put something on.
How'd you want your steak, Doc?
Oh, medium tough.
Okay. Let me know how'd you like the French fried potatoes. We're trying new recipe. We're frying them in rubber cements.
Come on, Molly, let's go. Let's get out of here before something...
Oh, there you are, Mrs. McGee. So nice to see you, really.
Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Uppington?
And Mr. McGee, too. Oh, and Mr. McGee's brother.
Hi, what do you mean, my brother?
Oh, my, wasn't that silly of me? For a moment, I thought there were two of you. Oh, my, it must be the lighting effect in here.
I think things are well enough lit in here, Mrs. Uppington. Don't you, McGee?
Yeah. Ain't you kind of swinging it a little bit, Uppy?
Swinging it? Oh, yes. In fact, I'm afraid I'm becoming quite a jitter insect. Oh, you know, I've been learning a new dance step, the boops-a-daisy. you swing around like this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Certainly was clumsy of me, wasn't it?
Oh, my. What on earth have you been drinking, Mrs. Uppington?
Please, Mrs. McGee. I never touch intoxicating beverages, but my waiter suggested a delicious soft drink, some kind of punch. Planter's punch, I believe.
Oh, very refreshing.
Yeah, very well named, too. One more punch and they'll plant her. I'm sorry we can't stay and join the festivities, Uppy, but we gotta be together.
Oh, my, Mr. McGee. Oh, I'm so sorry you can't join the festivities. I'm really sorry. And, you know, I can't remember when I've had so much fun. Oh, but my goodness, Mr. McGee, you seem terribly upset about something. Is there anything wrong?
Well, nothing that a fast trip to Mexico wouldn't cure, Mrs. Uppington. He's having trouble with his neck.
Really? His neck?
Yes, I stuck it out too far, Uppy.
My, how very amusing. Oh, dear, everything is very amusing tonight. Oh, dear me, people are so charming. Yes, everything is just too lovely. Now, you know, I can hardly keep my feet on the ground. Oh, there goes my waiter with one of those delightful Flanders punches. I must get the recipe from him. A roll out to the barrel. A wheel has a barrel.
Be a payday saver at the Big B, Burritt Mutual Savings Bank. Go into any office of Burritt on the first day, last day, 15th day, or any day of the month, and you will meet a select group of savers, the payday savers, businessmen, tradesmen, professional people, career girls, and even mothers who save from the grocery money. Why do these people all stop in at the Big B? To save on a regular and very profitable basis. A payday saver is a regular saver, a saver who knows that only through a systematic plan of savings will he be able to pay for that college education, new home, or retirement trip around the world. At the Burritt, the payday saver receives 5% on a regular account with interest from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, 6% on 2-year certificates of deposit, 5 3/4% on 1-year certificates, and 5 1/4% on 90-day notice accounts. Join your friends at the sign of the Big B, the Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, and become a payday saver. Deposits insured by FDIC. Now your host, Dick Bertel.
Our guest tonight here on the Golden Age of Radio is Jim Jordan, Fibber McGee. Ed?
Well, Jim, the whole radio industry has changed a lot over the last 20 years, and I certainly you're in a position to know better than anybody, but do you think we really lost something as far as dramatic radio was concerned?
Well, I don't know. Things had to happen to radio, but I do think that the industry, when television came along, if it hadn't been so tied in, I think radio would have been kept alive a little better. In fact, I think radio's doing better now than it did 5 years ago, don't you?
Yes, by
That's
all
right.
means.
But it's to say that it would go back to what it was 20 years ago, that's silly to say that. It'll find its own niche, and I think it has. I think as a news media, it's so much faster than anything else. I think it'll always be with us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jim,
I think you'll see a change in radio programming. I do. I think as the stations find out that if they spend a little money on programming, they'll gain thereby. As soon as we reach that point, well, they'll start doing it again.
Yeah. Jim, what are you doing now?
Nothing.
Just relaxing, taking in your retirement gracefully. Is that the idea?
I don't know what I'm taking gracefully or not. I have to take it anyway. I think about doing things all the time.
Do you miss
it?
Do you miss it?
Yes, I do. Until I have something ahead of me that I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, I find I'm not sleeping the night before. I do miss it, but when it comes to that point, I don't. I don't miss it anymore if I stop thinking about that.
Where do you make your home now?
In Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I married again, and she has a grandson. And little guy is 7 years old at this time. And he was talking to one of his kid friends, and he said, do you know Fibber McGee? Of course, this other kid said, no, he didn't know Fibber McGee. But this little Timmy says, well, my grandmother is married to Fibber McGee and Molly.
That's a great story.
Well, Jim, it's been a great fun to talk with you tonight, and I hope you'll come back again sometime.
And Ed, our guest next month here on the Golden Age of Radio is another giant, certainly.
Yeah, in fact, they both appeared on the air together. Speaking of Don McNeil from Chicago.
And I'm sure many of the ladies in our audience recall listening with regularity to the Breakfast Club for so many, many years.
I think it was 28 years, Dick, at last count.
Well, that's quite a count. Ed, it's been great fun visiting with you and sharing these memories with our Golden Age of Radio audience. And until next time, this is Dick Bertel.
And this is Ed Corcoran.
Good night.
Tonight's program has been brought to you by Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, serving Central Connecticut since 1889. The Golden Age of Radio with Dick Bertel was produced and edited by Brian Hartnett, engineering by Dick French and Bob Shirago. This is Bill Hanson speaking.
Pepper Young's Family. The story of your friends, the Youngs, is brought to you by Cam-A, the mild beauty soap for a smoother, softer complexion.
Rinse so white and rinse so bright.
Broadcasting from New York City, the Lucky Strike program, starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day,